Welcome to the podcast on using Google Forms and Flubaroo. My name is Sean Thomas. This is part of my Education 5107 podcast assignment, and I'm broadcasting from Fort St. John in British Columbia. So first off, what is Google Forms? Google Form is a tool put forth by Google as part of their Apps for Education suite. It's a survey or questioning tool where the user can create quizzes or simple surveys. Graphics, video can be input into questions, either in multiple choice format, true-false format, short or long answer, paragraphs are acceptable, or even a sliding scale for opinion gathering. Google then takes the answers of the shared forms given to the students where they complete them and compiles them in both graphical and in spreadsheet form. We can then use the spreadsheet with an add-on called Flubaroo to do further analysis and provide the feedback back to the students. So what is Flubaroo? It is an add-on that was created to assist educators in providing immediate formative feedback to students. It takes the spreadsheet data that was gathered from the quizzes that was given from all the student answers. It compares them to teacher-provided answers and marks, self-assesses the student scores, and then can email or send to Google Drive the results. So the student will take the quiz and then receive immediate feedback based upon how they answered that quiz. Peter Klappa, he's been using Google Forms and Flubaroo for quite some time. And in his speeches at the University of Kent in Canterbury, when he was accepting the Teacher of the Year award, he described how he uses Google Form to set up these weekly homework assignments that automatically get marked, thereby reducing his amount of front-end time on marking. Very efficient for dealing with large classes. Other uses, quizzes or tests. I've been using them for a couple of years now myself. Every single Wednesday I do a quiz. The students know it. It takes about 10 minutes. As soon as they walk into the classroom, there will be a QR code and a URL up on the projector. They immediately access either from their phone or from one of the Chromebooks in the classroom. They take the quiz, and within minutes they have back the response to how well they did. Beautiful formative assessment. Peer assessment is another way students can create and swap questions, quiz each other. Flipped classroom, where students would spend the time in advance. They can do pre-assessment with this, and then in the classroom it's a little more efficient because the teacher can then spend the time getting the assistance that's necessary to the students rather than reteaching. Gathering feedback, opinions. We use Google Forms in the educational setting consistently with our staff as a surveying and questioning tool. And then switching the role, this allows the students to create their own surveys. My students have really enjoyed doing this. They find that it's quite powerful for them to have to create questions that they can then couple with number 2 here with the peer assessment. So why use it? Well, technology integration is a very important part. As we integrate the technology in our classrooms, digital media is becoming kind of status quo. And so this is a digital online assessment. It can be done asynchronously with feedback being provided directly to the student. Efficiency. Classes are growing in size and in composition. And this allows for less time to be spent on marking and more time spent on actual instruction. And also then for formative feedback, as part of assessment for learning, it's absolutely critical that students be given feedback in a very immediate and timely manner to support their learning. Without this, waiting to the end of chapter assessment, there's no opportunity for students to modify their understanding. And timely feedback, as already mentioned, it's not viable to wait until an end of a unit or an end of a chapter to provide the feedback. It has to be done immediately. And not going into it in the time constraint that we have, but there's a fantastic video tutorial by Lenny Dutton. The URL is provided on the bottom of the form here. The video link is given as well. And this takes you through the simplicity, really, of how to create a simple Google form assessment, and then how to use Flubaroo to take that data and provide the information back to the students as to how well they performed. A couple of questions that come to mind with regards to using self-assessment. Can the use of an auto-marking assessment feedback actually take the place of quality instructor-created individualized feedback? Are you missing out on individual, very specifically tailored feedback to the children? And in this instance, does it actually matter? Does the end justify the means? And one other issue that has been brought up is because it is a computer-given assessment, although it is formative, is there a relationship between the performance and the student ability with the computer? So thank you for listening. That's my podcast on Google Forms and Flubaroo.